Okay, we're good to go. Sorry, everybody, I had some technical difficulties. Good evening and welcome to all our fellow Toastmasters, to our guests, and all your smiling, happy faces. So great to see you all. Welcome to today's meeting. It's a very appropriate theme of finding peace, and I'm sure that means something different to everybody. I feel that our meeting's theme is very relevant for us today because we got some news last week that our dear Trevor, who is our area director, and he came to our meeting at the beginning of the month and was a really amazing general evaluator, unfortunately passed away after a triple bypass operation at the end of last week. So that was quite a shock. So we are obviously sending all of our love and strength and condolences to Talking Heads, as well as his family and his friends. And I just feel that it was such an honor to have him join us on numerous occasions. And he taught us so much, and he always just held some space for us to grow. I mean, I remember the meeting last time where he gave us really insightful information. So just wishing him to rest in peace, and that his family and friends find strength during this difficult time. I also just want to touch on what's happening in the world. There's a lot of unrest at the moment, and I just hope that everyone can find peace. And then for me, finding peace is very much around finding peace within. So hopefully tonight we can get lots of insight into that. I just want to remind everybody to be gentle on themselves and to be kind on themselves, because you never know what someone else is going through. So remembering to be kind and empathetic all the time, because you have no idea what the person who's smiling at you is going through. And often the people who are smiling with the biggest smiles are the people who are suffering the most. So just to check in on everybody, and if those smiles look really big, just check in and say, are you okay? Do you need any help? We've got the words and the tools to speak to everybody. I would like to start off by welcoming our guests. So we have got Vazima. Is that your name? Am I pronouncing it correctly?
Vazirna.
Vazirna,
Yes.
sorry.
But that's my surname. My first name is Ahmed.
Your
Hello,
first name
everyone.
is?
Ahmed.
Ahmed. Oh, welcome, Ahmed. How did you hear about us? What brings you to Toastmasters today?
Out of curiosity, I think, and I'm trying to improve my public speaking skills, and also I've heard about this program for 2 years ago.
Okay.
But I never joined, and now I decided to see what this is about and how I can join.
Okay, fabulous. Well, welcome. It's lovely to have
Thank you.
I'm sure you will. I'll check in with you later, but I'm sure you'll enjoy the
Sure.
evening and hear lots of exciting things from all of our members. And then I don't see any other guests. I just want to welcome Andrea to her first official meeting as a member. That's very exciting. And we'll do your induction, Andrea, on the 7th of October. No, sorry, November, when we're all together in person. I don't see Olga here, but I just wanted to acknowledge Olga for coming second in her CrossFit competition. So that was really amazing. Very strong lady. Puts me to shame, that's for sure. And I know she was wanting to get to the gold, so I'm sure she will find it in herself to get to gold one day. But congratulations, Olga. I wasn't really well prepared here, but I'd like to please ask you to all unmute yourselves and just raise your glasses to make a toast to South Africa and all her speakers. To South Africa and all her speakers. Great, thank you. It's my pleasure to now hand over to our legendary Lawrence, who is going to take the meeting into his hands and share it all with us this evening. Thank you, Lawrence.
Thank you, thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode with your host with the most, my name being Lawrence Bull. And welcome to Toastmasters, the show where everything is made up and the points don't matter. That's right. The points are like buying sunscreen when you're in the north of Europe. The sun's never out. Why are you buying sunscreen? And the reason why we do these Toastmasters events is to practice speaking in a safe, warm environment with other, hopefully more experienced speakers to guide us along the way of improving our confidence. I am notoriously unprepared for tonight's meeting, and I'll be honest, at 10 to 6, I looked at the agenda for the first time and completely forgot that I had put my name up as the Toastmaster. I actually don't know if I put my name up or if Sean just, was struggling to fill the role and thought, Lawrence does it anyway. Let's just put his name there. So I might just take the blame. I might just put the blame up on Sean. We'll see how the night goes. And I'm reading now that the theme is finding peace, which is quite hard for me. And I'm sure I'm not alone. The thing about peace is that it's not a goal. It's not a destination. It's not about arriving somewhere. Peace is the exact opposite of that. It's enjoying where you are now. It's accepting that where you are now is sufficient, is fine. That being completely unprepared in an environment like this is totally, totally fine. And I'd like to pose a question to you. Please close your eyes just for 1 second. And ask yourself, what brings you the most peace? Is it spending time with family? Is it enjoying your favorite sport? Is it being outside? What brings you the most peace, and why are you not doing more of it? Now, luckily, as my role as Toastmaster, all I really have to do is make sure we end the session on time and that the meeting runs smoothly, making sure that there's a couple of jokes along the way so that people don't fall asleep. And in my role as Toastmaster, I'm also not alone. I have some other people that will be helping me fulfill the duties of the evening. The first role that I would like to introduce is that of the R counter. And today we have Catherine playing that role. So Catherine, can you please unmute and share what your role as the R counter is?
Sure, yeah. So hi everyone, I'm Catherine. So yes, the R counter, I'm going to be listening out for all the R's, ers, well, so, like, but, yeah, don't worry, I'm guilty of using them a lot. And the odd kind of stutters or repetition words. And then at the end of the evening, I shall mention that, simple as that. And it's just a great way to be conscious of what your crutch words are, and how to avoid possibly repeating them or using them too much. So I look forward to that. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. Next role that we have is our grammarian, who will be playing the grammarian police role and also giving us the word of the day. Please, Chantal, if you could introduce your role.
Thank you, Lawrence. A greeting, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters and guests. As grammarian, it is my responsibility. I'm going to be paying close attention to what everyone is saying and your language usage. I'll note use of any language that is not proper and not correct English, even though mine isn't great either. So I think you'll get a lot of freebies when I'm the grammarian, which is all good. For today's meeting, the word of the day is tranquil, which means free from disturbances. And the way I would describe that is, my garden is tranquil when my children are not there. Each speaker is encouraged to use the word of the day, and I will give the grammarian's report at the end. Thank you, Madam. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Mr. is a good correction. I like that one. And then we have our next role player, which is Herlanda. And I might be mistaken here, but Herlanda, is this your first time playing a role?
Yes, it's the first time.
Exciting. Okay, cool. Well, you'll be playing the timekeeper role. I don't know if you knew about that or if Sean also just decided to put your name there without giving you any notice. But Herlanda, can you please explain the role for us today?
Greetings, Mr. Toastmasters, fellow Toastmasters and guests. As timer, I will time the formal speech, the evaluations, and tabletop speaker.
I will also let each speaker of the time they have left using the green, yellow, and red black backgrounds in my screen, which do not specific times remaining. Formal speech should be 5-7 minutes length. At 5 minutes, I will display the green background. At 6 minutes, I will display the yellow background. At 7 minutes, I will display the red background. Those giving speech should limit their remarks to their specific speech times. The individual evaluations should be between 2-3 minutes. At 2 minutes, I will display the green background. At 2 minutes and 30 seconds, I will display the yellow background. At 3 minutes, I will display the red background. Tabletop speakers should limit their remarks to no more than 2 minutes. At 1 minute, I will display the green background. At 1 minute and 30 seconds, I will display the yellow background. At 2 minutes, I will display the red background. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Fantastic. Orlando, do you mind just showing us what the background would look like? Can you show us the green or the red background as an example?
Yes, just a minute. This is
Fantastic.
the green background. Yes, the yellow one. Is this one.
Cool.
And this is the red
The
one.
shut up slide, basically. Awesome.
Okay, yes.
Thank you, Orlando. And the reason why we do timekeeping is because it's very important to respect your audience. And a lot of times what we end up seeing in corporate and in these situations is that people speak over time, they end up waffling, and your audience gets distracted, lost, and is not engaged. Another reason why timekeeping is important is imagine you walk into the lift and your boss is there. Now, you don't have 30, 40 minutes of waffling to be able to try and convince him why he needs to take your project seriously. You have the 30, 40, 50 seconds that elevator has to pitch your product. So if you can learn how to talk within a specific time frame, it's a very useful skill. So Orlando, I'm looking forward to your first time as a role keeper. Our next role keeper is Sean, who will be the fine master. Can you please describe your role, Sean?
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Yeah, so with the Fine Master, I'd like to have a little bit of light-hearted fun about things that I see during the evening that we could just have a virtual payment system. And maybe what you could do is when we meet on the 7th of November, you could just remember the fines that you got now and tip into the box on the 7th of November when you arrive. And that will kind of set the term for the night. So, and I will give my feedback at the end. Thanks, Mr. Toastmaster.
Fantastic. Thank you, Sean. So as an example, a fine would be something along the lines of, fining Sean for not giving adequate updates or feedback to me. Or, alternatively, a fine could be Lawrence forgetting to be the Toastmaster role. And then another fine could be that Sean brings his own money to the meetings because none of us remember our own coins. So the Fine Master is exactly that. It's just to have a little bit of fun. It was introduced by Catherine, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, it's a great addition to our program. Now, before we get into the next section of the Toastmasters agenda, which is the prepared speaking section, this is where, 3 speakers have taken the time to prepare a speech and are going to deliver it to us. I just want to talk a little bit more about the theme of the evening. And the theme is about finding peace. And there was a beautiful quote by a former US President, Jimmy Carter. And he said, "Peace is not something you wish for, it's something you make, something you do, something you are, and something you give away." Peace is a never-ending process, the work of many decisions. It's an attitude, a way of life, a way of solving problems and resolving conflicts. It cannot be forced on the smallest nation or enforced on the largest. It cannot ignore our differences or overlook our common interests. It requires us to work and live together. And this quote for me, it's pretty lengthy, but I tried to say it slowly so that it had impact. But it emphasizes that peace is not merely a passive state, but a dynamic force that involves our actions, attitudes, and interactions with others. Peace according to this quote, is a commitment to understanding, cooperation, and the continual pursuit of harmony in our world. And I really liked the introduction that our president made, because that spoke to us wanting that pursuit of harmony in our world. And we have so much chaos going out that maybe this Toastmasters meeting is our little bit of solitude. Maybe this is where you find your peace. I know for me it is. As much as I might not be super prepared, I find a sense of peace in the chaos of having to be quick on my feet. So hopefully you can find some peace in tonight's meeting as well. So on to our first speaker of the evening. And for those who are new, we have a speaker section where we have prepared speeches, but we also have an evaluation session where a speaker is given feedback on what they did well and what some of the areas of improvement might be, because we are here to grow and to learn. So I would like to introduce the evaluator for the first speaker, which I don't see on... Oh, no, sorry, I do. Catherine, you are evaluating Shifa's speech. So could you please explain the role of the evaluator and also what Shifa's specific requirements are for the speech?
Sure. So, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow trustees, our president and guests, and most of all, Shifa. Shifa, I'm really excited to hear your speech. Shifa's speech, Smile at Fear, sounds very interesting. And her project that she's chosen is Dynamic Leadership. And Shifa, the purpose of this project is for the member to practice developing a change management plan. And I'm so excited to hear that, Shifa, because I worked for a change management trainer once in my life, and I've always been fascinated by change management. So I can't wait to hear your speech. And the purpose of the speech is also for the member to share some aspect of a change management plan. So the member developed a change management plan during their project about any real or hypothetical change in his or her past or a current change that affects a group that he or she is part of. So it could even be part of this ToastEd club. The member will give specific information about the plan. So we look forward to hearing about your change management plan. And the speech may be any type, including humorous. It should not be a report on the content of the managed change project, but I'm sure it will be great. So best of luck, Shifa.
Thank you, Catherine. So without further ado, please help me welcome our first speaker, Shifa, with the speech, Smile at Fear. Smile at Fear. Over to you, Shifa.
Can I just check that everybody can hear me clearly?
Yes.
Great. My pathway is dynamic leadership. To be honest, I don't really like being a leader. In fact, I rather dislike leadership roles. Now, I know what you must be thinking. Why choose dynamic leadership if this is not how I identify? The fact of the matter is that when I chose this pathway, I was a different person. I was younger, and I wanted different things in my career, and I thought dynamic leadership will help me to get there. But I have changed. I've subsequently learned that leadership roles are not for me. So recently, I relinquished a role as a manager in favor of taking a role with less responsibility. And the reason for that is I acknowledge that I am an introvert, and the constant barrage of messaging and texting and contacting me was not working for me. So I'm much happier working quietly. Just leave me alone to do my work. My fellow Toastmasters, guest, Toastmaster of the day. As luck would have it, I'm now faced with finding a new iteration of myself. And in my project, this project 4, it's all about managing change. And as all of you Toasties know, that the Toastmaster manual is quite good about preparing you. So I'll give you some kind of indication. When I prepared for this project, I came across this great little worksheet called Prepare for Change, and it's got all kinds of interesting things about goal setting and time frames and things like that. Quite neat, isn't it? Pretty cool. And then it also has a communication plan. And this is about indicating to all the people that your change will impact. How are you going to communicate this to them? So these are pretty useful, but I'm going to put them aside in favor of my smile at fear strategy. So I'm in the company tonight of friends, and I don't mind telling my friends that I am profoundly influenced by Buddhism, mindfulness, the law of attraction, and prayer. So for me, any kind of change has to fundamentally incorporate these things that are part of my life on a daily basis. The word smile at fear comes from one of my favorite Buddhist teachers, Pema Chodron. And she teaches a technique of meditation where you invite your fears to join you. You don't shun them, you sit with them. So my smile at fear, I've used it and I've made it my safe strategy. The S is for smile, the A is for at, the FE is fear. So my safe strategy, smile at fear. Now, step 1 in my smile at fear, my safe strategy, is I sit tranquilly and I ask myself, what is the best version of this day for me? And I wait for the images to download. And it's always a combination of 3 things: joy, companionship, and togetherness. And with these images, also at the back of my mind come the doubt, the self-doubt. And this is where I practice smile at fear. I don't chase it away. Everything is welcome in that moment. There are no easy answers. I have the vision of hope and I have the precaution. It's all there. Step number 2 in my safe strategy is something called scripting from the law of attraction. So this is about writing down your intentions in the present tense. You write it down and you write as if it's already happened. Catherine, I have a question for you. What do you think is the first thing I would script?
Sorry, about yourself or about?
Yeah, if I were writing thing, what do you think is the first thing I would script?
Your feelings.
Okay, so my fellow Toastmasters, the first thing I scripted was, I have high-speed Wi-Fi. That's my first thing. And the reason for that is in my current life, I work in a brick and mortar work environment. But when I make this change, my work life will predominantly be in the online space. So high-speed Wi-Fi is fundamental to this. Now, let me move on quickly to number 3. Number 3 in my safe strategy is I ask the universe, what is in my blind spot? What are the things I cannot see? How would I need to pivot if need be? Because right now I can't see it all. So, Toastmasters, guests, friends, at the start of my speech, I told you about this plan. And there's nothing wrong with it. And I'm not saying that my plan is better than another. What I am recommending is that when you're faced with a fundamental change in your life, choose authentically. Back to you, Toastmaster of the Day.
You know, I've often wondered if the original Buddhists were the world's first, finders of peace enthusiasts. I mean, they've been meditating on mountaintops and searching for enlightenment for centuries. If anyone knows the secret to finding peace, it's probably them. So thanks for sharing. I'll definitely check in on that. And I loved your ending. Let's do things authentically. I think there's no better drive or purpose in life than to do things the way we were meant to. Our next speaker will be introduced by our evaluator, Gabrielle, who will describe what the speech objective is. So over to you, Gabrielle. What is Claire's objectives for tonight?
Gabrielle's muted.
You're on mute, Gabrielle, the big button on the bottom left.
Dear friends and Mr. Toastmaster, thank you for reminding me. Claire's purpose tonight for her project is to use vocal variety to enhance the speech. And we all know she is an experienced Toastmaster. So for the evaluator, an interesting role, because the evaluation project is different from other evaluations in the Toastmasters pathway. For this project, I have to complete a speech profile. And I will have to identify a variety of her skills, the skills Claire will use effectively, and those which are perhaps not so successful, and then need to be improved. Thank you. And she is doing presentation mastery level 3.
Awesome. Thank you, Gabrielle. So over to our next speaker, Claire, with the speech titled, Take 100% Responsibility with Care, Compassion, and Constructive Communication. Take 100% responsibility with care, compassion, and constructive communication. Claire.
Have you ever jumped in and assumed responsibility for somebody else's life? Might have been a friend, a sibling, a parent. Can anybody relate to that? Well, you start out with good intentions and you're doing the right thing. And then something makes you think, yeah, I'm not so sure. And then the moment hits. Something's very wrong. I am not doing the right thing. So I know how you feel because I've been there. For most of my life, I have been responsible for others, sometimes directly and sometimes self-assumed because they just didn't seem to be managing on their own. But it hasn't been a good thing because it just leads you down the wrong path for you and especially for the other person. So I'm going to use the example of my almost 87-year-old mother. And me. So 11 years ago, I ended up having to be financially responsible for my parents. But things got very tricky very quickly when my mother fell, tripping over the gas bottle to make us hot chocolate. All I heard was, I ran to the kitchen. Are you okay, Mom? I thought she'd had a heart attack. And there she was, lying sprawled out on the kitchen with her head up against the cupboard. What are you doing? I tripped over the gas bottle. But Mom, the gas bottle's over there. You're lying over there. Anyway, I tried to pick her up. Oh, I went, what? Her leg was sore. I was like, oh dear. I called the ambulance, and soon enough, the ambulance arrived. They'd moved her, put her on a board, and took her off to hospital. And that's where things got very, very complicated. You see, Mom has got COPD. What? COPD. I've forgotten what the definition is. You see, I've got myself into such a tiz, I can't even think straight. Well, anyway, it's a thing where you can't breathe. You can't be sedated because they won't be able to get you to breathe again. To add to that, Mum has a laundry list of allergies. Not only to food. No, let's not keep it simple. It's medication. It's preservatives that are in medication. It just makes life really difficult. So now she needs an operation because she's broken the top half of her leg in 2 pieces. So 6 days she lay in hospital. They couldn't fix it because how are they going to operate without killing her? And she's going to need antibiotics. And what are they going to give her that isn't going to kill her or make her sick? 6 days. Finally, I'm sitting wondering, my goodness, I need to go house sitting. Mom's broken her leg. Dad can't take care of her. I'm going to my best friend's house, but it's a double-story house. What am I going to do? Well, I managed to bring my parents there, and that's when it started. This thing of like have to be absolutely responsible for absolutely everything, giving her the injections, helping her get onto the toilet, doing everything, cooking, earning a living. It was just chaos. And one day she wasn't so well, and I had to take her to the doctor up the road. And while I was there and we were waiting for Mom to do what she needed to do, and I said to the doctor, you know what, doctor, I've noticed here's this funny thing on my nose. It moves around, but it won't go away regardless of what I put on it. She went, don't worry, we can cut it out. I looked at her. I said, have you seen my wrist? It scars. There's no way anybody's cutting anything out of my face. Well, that was 2019. Fast forward to 2022. I had meticulously putting stuff on this thing. And would it budge? Not a chance. Until the 27th of August. So what changed? Well, just before that, about a month, I had realized I wasn't helping my mother with care, with compassion, or with constructive communication. I wasn't respecting her independence and her right to choose what needed to be done and how. I didn't ask her, how can I support you? I learned my lesson. I finally got to the point where I was at breaking point. I just couldn't take anything anymore because Mom wasn't taking her medication. I was phoning her 4 times a day. Mom, it's pre-breakfast meds. Have you taken them? Yes. It's after breakfast meds. Have you taken them? Yes. It's 8 o'clock. Have you taken number 7? Yes. Have you taken number 8 at 9 o'clock? I get back, and 5 days later, and I've been making all these calls, and I get there and she hasn't taken anything. I'm like, what on earth? And then I realized I need to have a chat and I said to her, Mom, what do I need to do to support you? I've got a list. I phone you. The medications are all dished out into little things Monday to Friday, 4 times a day. Is there anything else I can do to support you? No, she said. I said, so then, what is it you want to do? You need to decide what you'd like to do. And after that conversation, I realized I needed to create a balance. I am only responsible for my thoughts, decisions, and actions. And everybody else is responsible for their thoughts, decisions, and actions. Less than a month later, I noticed something had shifted. And this thing started clearing. Now, I hadn't put anything on it for about a year because I was like, well, nothing's happening with it. It cleared. Our body holds on to things. And when we let go of what is not our stuff, amazing things happen. So take 100% of responsibility for your life and allow others to take responsibility for theirs. And if you want to support them, do so with care, compassion, and constructive communication.
Love it, love it, love it. You know, sometimes taking responsibility for our people around us, but also for our own peace can feel like a full-time job. It's like being the CEO of Peace Incorporated with daily meetings, performance evaluations, and hopefully the occasional well-needed holiday to celebrate our inner serenity. And Claire, there's absolutely nothing wrong with being kind. It's free and the returns are priceless. So thank you very much for reminding us of doing things with care and kindness and compassion. Our next speaker will be Chantel, who is going to be evaluated by Sally. So can I ask Sally to please unmute herself and introduce the outcomes of Chantel's speech?
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Toastmaster, impromptu Toastmaster, President and fellow Toasties, and our guest. My job tonight is to do my first evaluation on Chantel. It's a little bit different this evening. Chantel is doing a speech that she's prepared for. She's a parenting expert, and she is doing a speech in her workplace in a week's time. So she's using this safe space to get some practice and some feedback from us. And the title of her speech is Parenting in a Digital Age. I'm very, very much looking forward to hearing this, as I have a teenage daughter. So all the best, Chantel.
Fantastic. Please help me welcome Chantel, Parenting in a Digital Age. Parenting in a Digital Age. Over to you, Chantel.
Thank you, Lawrence. Thank you, Sally. Parenting in the digital age. Is technology serving you or is it harming you? Don't get me wrong, I love technology. I love my iPhone. I use the alarm to wake up. I use an app for my daily meditation. I write reminders in my notes. I can email wherever I am, and I can work remotely. I listen to podcasts for motivation, all of which was never possible before. But do we understand the potential cost we can pay for all these conveniences? And more importantly, do we understand the potential impact on our children? I want you to tell you about a client that I'm going to call Anna. She walked into my office depressed, anxious, and had low self-esteem. Her parents were incredibly worried. Anna had a normal childhood. Around the age of 9 years old, she got her father's upgraded iPhone. Her father was getting the upgrade, and so she got the phone. And initially it started all fine. She was playing things like Minecraft and Pokemon. As she grew older, she was spending more time on the iPhone, but so were her parents. It was how she relaxed when she got back from school, how she connected with her peers, and how she entertained herself. Anna started slowly changing. She became more aware of her appearance and imperfections, as there was the constant comparison of the latest Instagram influencer who had a perfect body and even more perfect life. She didn't think of herself as unpopular until she saw the parties on Monday's highlight reel that she hadn't been invited to. This caused her anxiety, but she self-soothed by going on her phone. The more she went on her phone, the more she needed to go on her phone, until she was staying up until the early hours of the morning. At the same time, she felt depressed and didn't really want to do anything else. Her parents initially didn't see it as a problem. In fact, they thought this was a win. She wasn't begging to go to parties and she wasn't going drinking and being in unsafe spaces. But things started unraveling for Anna. She had her first panic attack when she had to write a test, and then she was too depressed to get out of bed and just didn't want to go to school. She was also constantly tired from staying up so late, and Anna seemed strangely numb and disconnected from things around her. Her school marks had dropped dramatically as well. Anna showed classic symptoms of a teenager who spent too much time on a screen. There are very concerning mental health statistics since the release of the iPhone in 2007. According to the American Association of Pediatrics, too much screen time can lead to depression, anxiety, lower grades in school, low self-esteem, poor self-image, body image, as well as social skills. So what can parents do? I call them the 3 M's. Use the 3 M's of model, manage, and monitor. Number 1, model. We need to model good technology habits for our children. Don't spend hours on screen entertainment, whether it's gaming, social media, or anything else. Make sure that you, as a parent, put your device away 2 hours before bedtime, and put your device down when your children are speaking to you. The average adult touches their phone or screen 2,600 times, with what we call the addict over 5,000 times. Surprisingly, South Africa tops the chart for the most screen usage, with an average of over 10 hours a day. This is not actually surprising when we know that every time someone receives a positive notification or a WhatsApp, you get a hit of dopamine, which is an incredibly addictive neurotransmitter related to the pleasure and reward center of your brain. Most people are surprised that Steve Jobs of Apple and Bill Gates of Microsoft had a very strict screen policy with their kids. What did Steve Jobs and Bill Gates, who market these products to our children, know that they are not telling us? Number 2 is manage. Parents need to manage their children's time, content, and the way that they use their screens. Parents need to be intentional about managing their children's screen time and not assuming that children will automatically make good choices. It's like leaving sweets next to the fruit bowl. Which one is an 8-year-old going to choose? A friend phoned me about her 15-year-old child who she was really worried about. The son's boyfriend had taken an overdose, but was in recovery. And the son was really upset, and she was wondering, what could she do about it? My first question to her was, what is your tech policy? And she said, what do you mean? I said, where's the device at night? What time do you put it off? What apps is he using? And she was really surprised with my questions. And I was surprised at her response, because obviously nighttime is when kids start downloading. And kids, especially the kids, would feel emotional, and that's when they contact their friends. So between 11 and 1 is a prime time for teenagers to go on their cell phones, and that's going to affect your mood and your emotions and set you up for the next day. One of the biggest challenges for parents of this generation is the battle to get children to put away their devices. Parents usually wake up way too late, and they lose this battle. We need to put safety features on apps. Have you ever typed in the word bunny? Because I did, because I had rabbits that I wanted to look after. And I'm absolutely amazed at what Google thought was appropriate for the word bunny. And I'm just glad that I was the one that got the responses and not my 6-year-old son at the time. Parents also need to be disciplined by how they use technology with their children. I think we can all agree that the screens is the greatest babysitting device that was ever invented. So when you go to the doctor, your child's about to have a meltdown, you're tired, you're stressed, or they're sick, you can just hand them a screen. which is great. The problem with that is that we are taking away their self-regulation skills, and they are not learning how to self-regulate. That is one of the key referrals in my practice, is that kids are having massive meltdowns and they're not regulating. Number 3 is monitor. Parents need to be vigilant to monitor how their children are using the screens. More than 50% of boys between the ages of 8 and 16 have viewed pornography, mostly while doing homework. Watching pornography has the same effect as a cocaine and heroin addiction, as it's giving you the upper high, which is from dopamine, and it's also giving you a relaxing effect. Sleep is one of the most crucial aspects of mental health, and the blue light of a screen tricks you into thinking it is daylight, and therefore can take quite a few hours for you to fall asleep after you have put your device away. So what can we conclude? Technology is here to stay. It's incredibly useful, and we will definitely continue using it. But it is like most things in life. We need to be intentional in our usage, and especially disciplined with how we allow our children to use their screens. Make sure that technology is serving you. Thank you.
Finding peace can sometimes feel like chasing a unicorn on the internet, elusive, mysterious, and often leading to unexpected and sometimes dangerous pages. We're all trying to strike that balance, that delicate balance between screen time and scream time as our kids discover new apps to irritate us faster. But thanks for the tips, Chantal. It's nice to know that, we're the ones they model. So it's time for us to step up and be better models for our kids to learn how to live in this digital age. Next up, we have an educational speech. And being asked to introduce oneself is a bit like trying to fold a fitted sheet perfectly. It's awkward, a little confusing, and you're not quite sure if you're doing it right. So I'll just skip the introduction of your host with the most, myself, and go straight into the educational on 7 ways to improve your speech. So the 7 ways are simple. The first one is know your audience. Now, I learned this really early on in my corporate career because I was told or asked to tell a joke at a sales meeting, and I didn't look at the audience, which was, a really stupid idea. And, it's funny when you're asked to tell a joke in a serious setting, in a formal setting, for me, only the inappropriate jokes come to mind, like the jokes that you can only tell your friends at 3, 4 a.m. at a bar somewhere when everybody's too drunk to even remember what you said. Those are the only jokes that come to mind. And unfortunately, I told a joke that was quite offensive to ginger people. Oftentimes jokes have to make fun of someone. And at that time, ginger was top of mind. And at the back of the room, sitting behind, the horde of salesmen, was this small, frail ginger woman who ended up being the boss of all of these salespeople. And yeah, my joke was completely misplaced. So if you don't know your audience and you haven't done the research and you don't know what their intention, what their goals are, or how to talk to them properly, you're probably not going to do a great speech. So number 1, know your audience. Number 2, structure your speech. A speech structure is really simple. You need an introduction, a body, and a close. The introduction sets the scene. The body, you usually want to have 1 to 2 stories where you're adding personal anecdotes, telling stories, giving some humor related to your introduction. And then your conclusion is tying everything together with a golden thread. The way I like to build my speeches is I'll start with the conclusion. What do I want the audience to leave with? Then I'll go and set the scene with the introduction on how I can set up the conclusion. And once I have the intro and the close completed, that's then when I'll work on the meat, on the bones, on the body of the speech to make sure that I have 1 or 2 stories that leans to the message, to the golden thread that will tie together this perfect burger. Number 3, body language. I don't know the exact stat, but 70% or something near to that is what people perceive in communication on your body and your face, and only 30% is the actual words that you're saying. So even if you're saying a whole bunch of mumbo jumbo, but your body looks really great and seems congruent, you actually might get away with it. So my strategy on this is to start by thinking what I want to say, feel what that feeling might feel like, and then to say and let my body express through it. You want to be congruent. There's nothing worse than someone saying, I'm super excited, or that was the worst day of my life. When you don't have congruence with your emotion and what you're saying, people are going to disconnect. That leads me to tip number 4, vocal variety. Let's be honest, guys. We all love a bit of drama, don't we? That's why the Kardashian show is the big hit that it is today, because we strive for a bit of drama. And what you can do to dramatize your speech a little bit is to add a bit of vocal variety, to show your excitement, to whisper and bring the point back, to show your rage when you're really upset. It brings this dramatization of your speech. I'm not sure if that was a word. I just made it up. The 5th tip, my favorite strategy to make your speech blossom, is to use the power of pauses. It's the best way in which you can get an audience attention. But remember, you should only use pauses for dramatic effect. Number 5, storytelling. When we were back in the caves and people were sharing knowledge with each other, they did so through stories. Stories have always been intriguing and interesting. It's why kids at night look forward to their dad or mom sitting on the bed and sharing a story with them. We learn through stories. We connect with stories. We love stories. So instead of saying something like, people are complacent with an okay life, you could use a story to bring that point home. And that story that I'm going to share with you was a story that happened to me quite recently. A few days ago, I was walking up and down the street doing some exercise, and on this porch was an old man sitting with his dog, and I heard this moaning sound. And at first I was a bit concerned because I thought maybe this old man was moaning, looking for help. So I got closer to him and the moaning just got louder and louder and louder. And I went to the man, and as I got really close to see his face, I realized he was not the one moaning, but actually it was his dog next to him that was moaning. And I said to the old man, why is your dog moaning? Is he okay? And, the old man didn't say anything. He was one of those silent Buddhist types. And he instead just pointed at the dog's foot. And I saw on his foot that he had this small nail, almost like a splinter, that was in his foot, but it looked really painful. And I said to the old man, why doesn't the dog just, bite it out? It doesn't look like it's such a hard thing to get rid of. And the old man looked at me and he said, because it's just not painful enough. Isn't that really resemblant of how some of us live our lives? We're upset in our corporate careers, but we're okay with an okay life. And people don't necessarily change until things get really painful. So instead of just saying a statement, people are complacent with an okay life, tell a story that has a message and reinforces that, because it has a little bit more impact. And then my final tip number 7 is master impromptu speaking. It's a great way to build your confidence. So a tip here, put your name down to be a Toastmaster, and then forget until 10 minutes before the meeting that you're playing that role and just wing it. It's a lot of fun to practice being impromptu. And if you can be quick on your toes in this safe environment where you're not going to be judged, you're going to be given lots of smiles and laughter and encouragement, you're going to be quick on your toes in every facet of your life. And confidence is the key to speaking a great speech. Wow, I think that speaker was fantastic. Again, having to introduce oneself and then close for oneself, it's a tough task. So I think we'll just end it with a call to have a quick break. So we're going to, before we do that, Yolanda, would you mind giving us a timekeeper's report of the speakers that have spoken, how long they spoke for, and if they spoke over time?
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Toastmasters. I will start with Justine, the first speech that made 4 minutes and 21 seconds. Then Shifa made 8 minutes and 30 seconds, 1 minute and 15 longer than expected. Then we have Claire with 7 minutes and 49 seconds, 49 seconds longer than expected. Then we have Chantel with 8 minutes and 8 seconds, 1 minute and 8 seconds longer than expected. Then we have Lawrence with 7 minutes and 13 seconds in time.
Fantastic.
Thank you, Mr.
Yolanda,
Toastmaster.
congratulations on doing your first role as timekeeper. Thank you very much for taking the time. Now we're also going to vote for our best speaker. So we've had 3 speakers tonight. We've had Shifa, who spoke about the smile at fear. We had Claire, take 100% responsibility with care, not Claire, compassion and constructive communication. And Chantal, parenting in a digital age. So I'd like you to vote on your favorite speaker of the 3. And Justine is sharing the tag. So all you got to do is take out your smartphone, take a picture, and vote for the best speaker. Fantastic. So we'll have a break now until 18 past 7. So that gives you a good 17 minutes to go and enjoy yourself. Go grab a glass of wine, go to the bathroom. It is wherever you last left it in your house, in case you wanted to know where to find it. And maybe grab a quick snack, and we'll be back at 18 past 7. Thank you. Hope everybody's back. And if you're not, you're missing out, and that's your fault. Let's move to our evaluation session. So for those who are new to Toastmasters, we've had the prepared speech. Now we're going to have the evaluators who are going to come and give a bit of feedback on the 3 speakers. And the feedback is really to encourage the speaker to speak again. That's the main reason we do this. But also in encouragement, we want to give some constructive criticism. How can they improve? Because we are here to learn and grow. So our first evaluator is Catherine, who will be evaluating Shifa's speech. So over to you, Catherine.
Okay, thanks. Thanks. So Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, ToastEds, and guests, and most of all, Shifa. Where are you, Shifa? Are you here? There you are. Okay, super. Smile at fear. Wow. I think it was a very powerful choice of topic. So well done for that. I think that's quite a heading, smile at fear. You know, it's something quite different. Shifa, I love the way when you started your speech, you came in a very relaxed, chatty kind of way. It was very effective, as opposed to kind of starting a speech where I'm making a speech. It wasn't like that. So I really like that way, and I think it's very effective. It was almost like you were having a little bit of a chat or a conversation with us, and I think it really worked. I think you're excellent at mastering pause, and as Lawrence correctly said, pause can be so powerful. So I think you mastered your pauses and also your emphasis on various phrases and words very, very well. Those came across very strongly. So I'm sorry, I'm just going to carry on with this. Shifa, can you hear me all right? I also thought it was very effective the way you held up that piece of paper, you know, because I think online meetings and speeches, you know, if you hear them one after another, they can become a little bit monotonous without that. So I think it was great that you brought some paper into it and you held it up very distinctly. And I personally felt that you were very well prepared. did you practice it a few times? Because my gut feeling was that there was very good structure, there was very good continuity. I felt that you were well prepared. And I say that because I often do speeches at the last minute. So I can tell when somebody else is very well prepared. I love the way that you referred to where the title actually came from. I thought that was lovely. And the fact that it was something quite creative and authentic, and that it came from your favorite Buddhist teacher, you said, hey? And I think that was beautiful, that wasn't just a heading, it was a heading with a whole background behind it. It was such a good speech, orderly and yet catchy. I definitely think you held our attention, and it was very effective the way you kept referring back to the title. You did that a few times. As I said, you said where it came from, your favorite yoga teacher, and then a couple more times you actually said the title, and I think that's effective. I think the structure, as I said, of your speech was excellent, and I think you eased into it so well. And I could tell that you really incorporated a lot of what works. Perhaps the evaluators you had in your first and second speeches hopefully were extremely thorough, because I felt you incorporated what works in delivering an effective Toastmaster speech: a powerful introduction, a very strong ending, very effective pause, impressive vocal variation. Perhaps you can work on that a little bit more on the pitch and the loud and the soft could come into it, I think. Catchy strategies to grab your audience, like saying Kathy and asking me a question and coming in a kind of chatty conversational way. That was very effective. So because all of that, the structure, even the hand gestures were very effective, I think there's room to beef up the content of your speech. And again, your eye contact was successful, and there were interesting gestures coming through. So all of the structural part I thought was very good, and the interest that you showed in your topic was excellent. But I think going a little more into depth about authenticity, because that in itself is a powerful change management technique or strategy, whatever. And so it's like, wow, I was like amazed. That's amazing that you've chosen being authentic and authenticity. And then I was almost kind of waiting to hear more about that. Do you know what I mean? More jokes, more referrals to where you've used it in life, and just a little bit more. Do you know what I mean? A little bit more meaty content coming through there, I think would have done well. And also in relation to the fact that it was a speech related to change management. Do you know what I mean? So I think you gave one or two very good examples, and then I kind of think you could have given more, and even brought in stories of those examples that illustrate authenticity well. But all in all, very well prepared, very well presented, very good adherence to what we do require in Toastmasters, very good learnings coming through, and I think a tremendous effort and a very catchy and impressive speech. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Catherine. Our next evaluator is Gabrielle, who will be doing Claire's evaluation. Gabrielle, over to you.
Yeah, I'm unmuted. Is it right?
Yes, you are.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we all agree that Claire's story about taking care of her parents, getting into such a drama, and recognizing how we all have to take care of ourselves and not only of other people, to share our preserve our batteries and not to flow out only for others. It was such an engaging and wonderful story. And telling now, or coming to the point of speaking about vocal variety, I think Claire has excelled in every point. I must admit, I have no suggestions to make to improve. I can only congratulate of what happened. I think her pace and rhythm is the pace and the rhythm is the heartbeat of a speech, and she mastered that excellently well. I liked, for example, when she started, have you ever, and here's the pitch already, ever, but she leaves the pauses. Have you ever? So here she pulls us in and then jumped in and resumed the responsibility. With this jumped in, we can really feel how we all were taken into her situation. So she jumped with the word and we jumped with our feelings. That was well done. I find her timing is as well varied and exciting in situations. And I don't mean exciting that it is always positive. It can be negative as well. But when she talks, or Claire, when you talk about all these things you had to do, you had to take over when your mother was in hospital, the list of problems she brought into hospital and the things you had to maneuver outside of hospital, how everything got too much for you, that the volume of your voice, the timing was absolutely perfect. I say the pace and the rhythm is everywhere completely fantastic. Then things got very tricky when my mother fell. You could feel that again. When you speak, you can really join into the emotion. Or things got very, very complicated. Now with every very, you have so much weight with the volume and the clarity of what you say and the pauses that we really feel the weight you had to experience taking care of your mother and of the whole situation. I find your slowness in this very, very complicated expresses or conveys emotions very well. I loved as well when you expressed how your mother sounded when she fell. That was so much direct speech when you said, oh, you know, a very good projection of volume was conveyed there as well. And when you picked her up, that kind of heaviness, when you had to pick her up, again, it was just the pace, the articulation, the pitches, the volume, the timing, the rate. Claire, I cannot give you anything where you could improve. I think you have managed with all these articulations in your voice, you have managed to bring a story to life and to draw us in and to keep the audience on their tip of their toes. And you are just a very professional speaker and we love to learn from you. Thank you very much.
Well done, Gabrielle. Thank you for that evaluation. And our final evaluator is Sally, who will be evaluating Chantel's speech. So over to you, Sally.
Thank you. And thank you, Chantel, for giving me this experience to be an evaluator. I know it's slightly different. I love getting insight into what you do for a living. And I feel so excited for those parents who are going to kind of hear some of your knowledge and all your research you've done on digitaling and parenting in a digital era. It's something all of us parents have to navigate. And you speak with such confidence and calm, and I envy your tranquil essence. You're just so calm and so professional and just lovely to listen to. I loved your comparison of a potential cost and potential impact. I thought that was really resonated with me as a parent, because you want to give your children the digital devices, but there's a cost and an impact. There's a lot out there once you give them a digital device. I also love the stories, and I think the parents will be able to relate to them so well, the ones you intertwine with your speech. Even for myself as a parent, the modeling bit is, I also find myself in comparison when I go on Google and on Instagram, I get this so overwhelm of comparison. And I think for a 9-year-old, wow, I can understand why she ended up with you with counsel, because, to compare yourself at that age is, even at our age, is difficult. And also I have a 16-year-old daughter, so that the story was so relatable. And I really think the parents will love that in your talk. And my feedback would be to possibly bring some more humor into the talk, especially around your story with the bunny. I think it's an excellent point about Googling the word bunny. And I think it would be a great point to lighten up the stressful load of digital parenting in a digital era. I thought that story was really funny and it could be punched out a bit more. And my other feedback from my point of view is to repeat your 3 M's. It was model, manage, and monitor, but I might have got this wrong because I don't retain information. But if you repeated them, because I really think those will stick with the people who are at your talk. The 3 M's is a very nice thing to take away. It was a good takeaway golden nugget. And I missed the last one. I couldn't remember what it was, whether it was monitor or, but overall, excellent talk and wishing you all the best. And I can't wait to hear how it goes. Good luck.
Sally, was that your first ever evaluation?
Yes.
Do we want to do a quick standing ovation from your house?
Oh, for me, thank you.
Yeah, usually we have the tradition of first-time role players to get a standing ovation just as an extra sign of encouragement. Well done, Sally. That was awesome. Nailed it. Now over to our time police, Herlanda. Can you give us a quick update as to how our evaluators did in terms of time?
Thank you, Toastmasters. For Catherine, I have just a few minutes, 5 minutes and 20 seconds. For Gabrielle, I have 4 minutes and 4 seconds. And for Sally, 2 minutes and 29 seconds.
Fantastic. Thank you, Herlanda. Now we get over to personally my favorite part of the evening. It's the table topics session, and table topics is our code word for impromptu speaking. And I see that Luke, who I think is a new member, has taken on the role, which is very exciting. And Luke, I've seen a lot of very, very quiet people on the call tonight. I haven't heard a single word from Andrea, from Short Paul, from Jeremy, from yourself, from Sean. Sean's spoken very little and he loves to speak. Tabang, Willem. You've got a whole lot of victims that you can target today. Please don't be shy. So without further ado, Luke, please unmute yourself, do a quick intro of your role tonight, and then start picking your victims.
How's it, Lawrence? Thank you so much for the introduction. And sorry, the first half of the meeting, I was on mute, had to sort out some stuff for work. So apologies for that. And I'm sure I missed out on some great speeches. Yeah, I think to start off, the goal of table topics is to work on improvised speech and learning to be a bit more creative when it comes to speaking, I think. And also, I think working on the ability to organize your thoughts quickly and respond to impromptu questions or topics. Yeah, and I think I've had the fortune of being picked a few times for the table topics, but it's quite fun. And yeah, so I guess I'll just get straight into it. I've come up with a few ideas for tonight, and I believe they are in theme with the finding peace for this meeting. So yeah, I think I'm going to go with three speakers tonight. So I want to check and see if there's anyone that wants to volunteer. I see we've had a few people that have been
raised
quiet.
his hand.
Cool. We've got Sean.
And Catherine's raised her hand, and Jeremy's raised his hand.
Okay,
Actually,
awesome.
sorry, Catherine, can I rather bring Andrea in place of you, because you've spoken a bit tonight? So we've got Andrea, Jeremy, and Sean.
Of course, no problem.
Cool.
Okay, cool. Perfect. Okay, can I just start with each person and then give them a topic, and then I'll give the topic to the next person once the first speaker is completed. Is that fine?
Your session, 100% fine.
Cool. Okay, cool. Okay, well, let's start with Sean. My topic for you is, with the theme of finding peace, what is something that you do or experience that brings you peace in your life? Oh, wait, sorry. Just before you start, I forgot to mention that this is timed. The green timer, so the minimum amount we'd like is 1 minute. The amber yellow is 1 minute 30 seconds. So ideally, when you see that, you start wrapping up, and red is 2 minutes. So yeah, that'll be over. Cool. Sorry about that.
Right. Thank you. Thanks so much. I'll start. So what brings me peace is, this is just to give you a bit of insight into my life is I am ADHD by birth. I didn't know I was ADHD at the time. People just said I was an overactive child, and they always made me sit in front of the class, and I could never sit still. And I got to about 20, in my early 20s, and I discovered meditation. And it was the one thing that allowed me to calm my mind, because my mind was always so busy that I would be hopping from the one thing to the next. And I met my first wife, and we actually got into meditation together. And it was one of those things that it just fitted naturally for me to start finding that peace. And then I started going on spiritual retreats. I went to Thailand. I went to South America. I went to all the places that I went to seemed to have like a bent towards Buddhism. And it really it brought that tranquility to my life that I was searching for, because I'm not someone that was fixated on religion per se. I was fixated on what could bring me inner peace, calm, tranquility, and well-being. And meditation was the one thing that encapsulated all of that for me. And it even got to a point of where I was going to become an initiate, 2.5 hours a day, and you wouldn't be able to, there's no alcohol in there, you can't take any drugs. And I'd got to almost to a point of where I was going to take initiation. And then I met my second wife, and my second wife was not going to have me sitting, eating vegetables and staying off meat. So to kind of keep that peace, I straddled. So I've stayed someone that meditates, and I keep my inner peace to myself, but I'm able to have a marriage with someone who has no affinity with my Buddhist philosophies, with how I live my life and my diet, but I'm able to balance two forces. I'm able to balance the force of being the inner monk in me that wants to sit in an ashram and meditate every day, and be able to have a wife and a kid and a family, and balance those two competing forces to still give me the inner peace that I look for in my life. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you, Sean. I think a big part of meditation as well is trying to be present, and I think that helps to bring a lot of inner peace. But yeah, thank you for sharing that. And I'm sure we can take away something from that as well. Cool. My next victim is going to be Jeremy. For you, I have the topic. Okay, it's a bit of an interesting one, so I just want to ask you if you could just unmute quickly. Have you watched the Lion King movie before?
Which one? The new one or the old one?
The original one. I guess they both apply their stories the same, yeah.
It's been a while.
Okay, it's all good as long as you know the storyline. So what I want you to do is to imagine that you're in Simba's shoes or paws, and what advice would you give to Simba in order for him to come to peace with his new role and responsibilities he has to take on as king? And that's with the passing of his father.
Wait, so this happens when his father dies, and you want me to tell him?
Yeah, so well, I guess that's a big part of the story, is that he needs to take on this new role, and he's struggling to come to grips with it. So it's not the beginning of the movie, but it's a little bit later on, and he's sort of run away from home. But maybe, yeah, just you could be Wazoo that's giving him some advice and tips with how he can deal with that.
Okay. Simba, why don't you come sit next to me? I know you've gone through a lot, and you couldn't really help it either. Don't take responsibility for what has happened to you, but I want you to take responsibility for what to do next. It's okay to grieve and to process what you're going through right now, because that deserves the space. You need to go through this. I've seen your future, and your future is bright, no matter what, or no matter how you look at it. And I want you to remember that this is an essential part of your journey. Every step you take in that jungle is a step deeper towards your true nature, towards your divine self, to the king that lives within you. But there's no king without going through the hardships of becoming a king. And so as you know your Father, and as you are about to embark on your own journey to deserve the kingship within, know that you need to take every single step on this path to your future. The only thing that's left for you to do right now, Simba, is to make a decision and follow your feet. They will guide you to where you need to go.
That was awesome. Feel like I'm motivated to just stand up and go find my path. Well done. Cool. Well done, Jeremy. Thank you for that. I like the pauses in between, very suspenseful. It kept us very engaged. Awesome. Cool. On to our next victim. Andrea, sorry, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly. I'm just reading off my notes here. My topic for you is, let's see, I've got a few here that I can choose from. Okay, cool. In our lives, there's often a lot going on between our personal time, work, family, and friends. In which area of your life do you think you could find more peace for yourself? And why do you think that's the case?
You know, over the last couple of years, I have come to a place in my life right now where I am asking myself a lot of questions. Questions like, why am I here? What is my purpose? Where am I headed? I run a business. I'm very, very busy. I'm a wife. I'm a mother. And I enjoy seeing my friends and sport. You know, I try and do everything, but it feels that I'm constantly on this rat race and always trying to keep up and always trying to keep up and always trying to stay on the wheel. But what I've started to discover is that what energizes me is what gives me peace. And I think that's to do with purpose. And I've sort of linked the two, for me, that is, that purpose to me is what gives me energy. And I have discovered that things that give me energy is music. I love listening to music. I love art. I love going for a run. I really enjoy trying out new things. You know, I don't procrastinate. I really like the challenge of trying new things, even if I fail, even if my heart is racing, which it is right now. You know, I get enjoyment of doing something new that scares me and that pushes me a little bit further so I can learn more about myself. But that energy is where I find the peace. And a lot of people say, you know, it's being in the flow, you know, you're on track, all of those kind of feelings. But for me, is I really do find peace when I'm doing something that I really enjoy. When I listen to the music, I go into a trance, I go into a place, I go into a zone, I zone out from everywhere else, and that is my inner peace. Thank you.
Awesome, well done. Yeah, I think that's it is
Luke,
difficult.
do you have one more topic? Because I can see that Paul, he's got a story in his heart, in his mind, and he is ready to burst out in song. Do you have one more topic for us?
I do indeed. Paul, are you ready for me?
Most definitely.
Okay, awesome. So, with the current world tensions, in your opinion, what could world leaders do or consider to try and find more peace and unity instead of the conflict that we're currently experiencing?
I believe it all starts with being reasonable. And if you look at the history between Hamas and Israel, I believe that you need to give Palestinians a chance to survive and to live. It's not about oppressing, about taking the water away. It's not about attacking the people that you will solve the problem. we miss a big opportunity to make Jerusalem a world city without belonging to one country. It should have been a city governed by the NATO or by UNESCO or whatever. And that would have solved, I think, maybe a lot of issues. The Jews don't have the right to oppress other people. And it's easy to talk about Jewish people because of what happens in World War II. Between World War II and today, there are 3 generations of people who were born. We have to learn from the past and look for the future. But the future is that you allow people to live together, to have a land where they can grow their children, where they can live in peace and harmony. And it will take courage. The issue is that you've got geopolitics between Russia and America, and they like to play chess not on their own chessboard, but on chessboard of other people. So I really hope that for those people who are living in terror, there might be a solution. I think the solution is still far out, but we need all to pray and all to work together to make it happen. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Paul. Yeah, I think it's quite a sensitive topic, and I think that there's no right or wrong side, but I do believe that we live on a planet with a couple billion people, and in order to survive together, we need to find unity one way or another. And yeah, I think that you expressed that in a very clear way. And there's a lot of people that are involved in outside parties that have got alternative interests at heart. And I guess we're not really always informed with all of the information that we need to make a conclusive opinion, at least. But maybe the problem as well is with being so connected in the internet is that often there's real news and there's fake news, and there's things that are being spread that we struggle to decipher between what's real and what's not. But I think that at the end of the day, most people want peace, and we don't want innocent people to be harmed for, no reason. But yeah, thank you for that. And sorry, maybe the topic was a little tough. I thought that one would be a bit out there, but you handled it really well. And yeah, I think just in conclusion, I'd like to maybe share a bit of peace that I found this weekend. So I think we were gifted with an incredible day on Sunday with perfect weather. And I'm fortunate enough to have been able to spend some time in Camps Bay, and I spent some time at one of the rock pools with a close friend of mine. And while I was sitting there watching the ocean, I found for a minute or so it was complete stillness and silence, even though there was traffic and hundreds of people, thousands of people along Camps Bay beachfront. And there was about 30 seagulls sitting on a rock opposite us, and they'd all stopped talking to each other and were silent. And the waves in the ocean subsided for a moment, and the air was eerily still. I felt I was present in this moment and felt the warmth of the sun rays licking my skin. Slowly, as if in slow motion, the water grew in height and the world started to gradually move again. The seagulls began to talk, and the waves broke against the side of the rocks, and the world around me slowly came back to life. And I hope to experience more moments like this in my life, because I feel I was present, and that was a real sort of life experience. It's so simple, didn't cost any money. I just needed to be there and not be consumed by thoughts in my mind. And yeah, I'd like to thank you guys for participating in my table topics, and I think that we can all take something away from the improvised speeches. And yeah, thank you guys, and hope you enjoy the rest of the evening and the talks.
Well done, Luke. Also a bit of a standing ovation. Maybe we must do a bit of a bow or some sort of strategy for the online version of doing your first role, but you handled that really well. So thanks. Okay, over to Herlanda to give us the times of the table topic speakers.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Toastmasters. For Shia, I have 2 minutes and 10 seconds. For Jeremy, 1 minute and 19 seconds. For Andrea, 1 minute and 57 seconds. And for Paul, 2 minutes and 9 seconds.
Awesome. Thanks, Alanda. Next, we have Catherine with, oh, wait, sorry. Justine, can you put on that image on the screen so that we can vote for the best table topic and evaluator? The same strategy, you take your beautiful smartphone, put it on camera, and then take a picture.
I'm getting the old one for best evaluator.
Yeah, so best evaluator and table topics would be what we're voting on today now. So we voted first for the prepared speech. Yeah.
Right. Sorry.
I know you were looking for my name, Jeremy, and it wasn't displaying. That's why it was very confusing for you. That makes sense.
Where's Lawrence? I want to.
Can we add a best best Toastmaster role, Justine, as an award? Or
you get it hands down.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, while you guys are busy voting, I'm going to ask our next role player to give her report, Catherine, with the R counter. Over to you, Catherine.
Sorry, Lawrence, weren't you just, the evaluators were, sorry, I've just got a bit lost here, were myself, Gabrielle, and?
Yeah, and Sally.
And Sally, that's it. Okay. So I just need to, can you just give me 30 seconds?
Okay, cool. I'll give you a little bit more than that. Let's ask Chantal to jump in and do the grammarian report, and that gives you a minute or two to settle in.
Thank you. Thanks. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Forgive me if I've missed you, but sadly, there were only 2 people using the word of the day, which was Shifa and Sally. So quotes and things that I thought stood out for me was Lawrence, and I missed some of it, but it says peace cannot ignore our differences or our common interests, which was obviously your quote was really powerful. Shifa, I loved finding a new iteration of myself, and also the imagery that you evoked with I wait for images to download. Claire, I loved a laundry list of allergies. You're clearly much funnier than I am. Jeremy, to the king that lives within you. It's very powerful. It evokes amazing imagery, and I think we can all just sit with that one. So when I say improper grammatical use, there were just 3 that kind of I caught, which was Shifa, for instance. I think you mentioned goal settings and things like that. So I think just watch when you're saying things like that in a formal speech environment. Just a small tweak of, you know, I know we're nervous and we're talking, and I'm sure I speak like that as well because you're in the moment. But look at a word like that, and then Kathy, I was like amazed. So just take out the like. And then Gabrielle, sorry, I know English is not your first language, so I'm amazed at how I could never speak German, but she mastered excellently well. She just mastered excellently, or she mastered it well, is a way of saying that. Over to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Chantal. And over to Catherine for the counter report.
Yeah, sure. Okay, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters and guests. So Shifa, I heard you say one so well done. hardly any ums. Chantal, I only heard 2 ums from you, it was really, I must say, I really listened, and no one seemed to have like a really repetitive crutch word. So I think that is really impressive. You know, there wasn't like someone continuously saying so, or well, okay. And myself, I know I said like twice, so that's me there. Paul, you said twice. Chantal, you also said once, nothing serious. Luke, careful of yeah. I heard the yeah come through quite strongly twice. And generally in Toastmasters, we encourage to drop the slang, the yeah. And also you said wanna, which is definitely a little bit slang, so careful of your wannas. Andrea, you once said I, but it actually was quite effective because you were saying it in quite an expressive way. So it could have been excused, but I'll just alert you to it that you did say it twice, but it wasn't like hugely noticeable or anything. And then you did say but once in a way that sounded a bit inappropriate because you were saying something very positive about how you love music. And then you said but. And sometimes we do use but in a negative way, so it didn't quite fit. But nothing serious again. And Luke, just be careful of your crutch word. Your crutch phrase is a little bit what I think. You said that a bit. And Lawrence, just be careful of okay. Right,
Okay.
that's it. Thank you. Nothing serious though, really. It wasn't with anyone like hugely noticeable. And Helanda, I really listened. Being your English teacher, I didn't hear anything. I didn't hear any ers, any ums. So well done.
Awesome. Thank you, Catherine. And our final report for the evening is Sean with the Fine Master report. So over to you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. So the first fine is for Lawrence for finding out that he was the Toastmaster just before the meeting. And the second is for Lawrence as well, is for being blunt but direct about the red card being the shut up slide. I thought that was priceless. And then again for Lawrence for needing to introduce himself as a speaker.
Geez, I'm gonna have to take out a loan here, Sean.
Then I've got for Sean for not reaffirming Lawrence as the Toastmaster. Then I've got for Shifa for making it safe to smile at fear. Gabriella for being on mute. Claire for reminding me to be an adult, that I have to take responsibility for my life and actions. For Chantal, for making me feel like a bad dad, the 10 hours a day on cell phones and the negative impacts of cell phones and technology. For Catherine, for admitting to lastminute.com speeches. Remember, Catherine, you said I'll get to my speeches at the last minute, to lastminute.com. And then for Sally, for knocking an evaluation out the park. And that's it.
Well done, Sean. That was awesome. We'll bring some cash on the next time, or a whole bunch of IOUs. You know how this club likes to do things.
Well done, Sean. We're sharing the role and you're doing it very well. Good competition.
Awesome. So they say that if you want to make the universe laugh, all you have to do is tell it your plans. And sometimes finding peace can feel just like that. Life has its own way of throwing us curveballs when we least expect it. Just when you think you found your little piece of zen, the car won't start. The cat decides it's the perfect time for a concert. Our kids open an inappropriate website and our email inbox suddenly multiplies like rabbits. But amidst these moments of chaos and unpredictability, we mustn't lose sight of the pursuit of peace. In fact, we should embrace these moments as opportunities to put our newfound peace-finding skills to the test. After all, if you can find peace in the midst of a cat opera or a traffic jam, you're well on your way to mastering the art of serenity. It has been a plum-pleasing pleasure and a privilege to be your Toastmaster tonight, I now humbly hand over back to our president, Justine.
Oh, wow, Lawrence. The legendary Lawrence. Thank you for being our impromptu Toastmaster of the evening, as well as your very insightful educational, and for doing that last minute as well. I love when you said that you were accepting where you are now. That was quite powerful for me, accepting where you are now. And when you mentioned from Chantal's speech how it was screen time versus scream time, I thought that was so appropriate for all the children that sit on their devices. Thank you to all of our speakers this evening. You prepared very well and your speeches were outstanding. Shifa, thank you for sharing your wise words with us and reminding us to face those fears. I think that's something that I need to work very hard on. And I loved it when you closed with choosing authentically. So thank you, Shifa. And Chantal, your speech was so great. Thank you for sharing. I agree with Sally. Very excited for the parents who are going to be listening to your speech. And I definitely took away from your speech that I need to put my own phone away 2 hours before I go to bed, because that is the challenge and definitely an addiction that I have. So thank you. And then to our first time, oh, Claire, oh, sorry, I skipped you. I could completely relate to you and having to manage people and your mom and the pills and all of those things, because I have that too. But thank you for all your gentle reminders on how we can actually ask the people that we are caring for what they would like, instead of just going and not even taking their feelings into consideration. So thank you for that reminder. I definitely needed to hear that. Our first time role players, yay! Well done to you all, Yolanda, Luke, and Sally. You were amazing. So great. Sally, you were outstanding. Well done. What a beautiful evaluation, especially for your first time. Wow. And Yolanda, you were also an outstanding timekeeper on the ball. So thank you. And Luke, thank you for sharing such wonderful table topics with us. And for all our speakers, you all were so insightful and so inspiring. So the awards time will tell us all. So let me share our screen. And I'll ask you to all do a little drum roll. Just want to make sure this comes up properly. Okay, drum roll. The first award for the evening is the best speaker. Chantal! Congratulations. Great. And then our next award is for best evaluator. Hope I've got it in the right order. Yay, best evaluator is Sally. Whoop, whoop, Sally. And then our final award for the evening is our best table topic speaker. It's Jeremy. Well done. Simba's father would be proud. Let me stop my screen quickly. I would like to now take a little time to check in on Ahmad. How was the evening for you? What is your takeaway? And would love to just hear that before we move on.
Sorry, I lost you for a sec there.
Oh,
Can you
sorry.
repeat that, Justine?
Yes, sure. I just wanted to check in to see how you felt the meeting went. What is your takeaway? What did you enjoy? What could we do better? Would love to hear from you.
Unfortunately, I don't have much in terms of like what could have been better. I was bombarded with a lot of information. I've learned a lot. I enjoyed myself very much, guys. Yeah, I think this is exactly what I had in mind in terms of the experience itself. Something that I didn't mention in the beginning is I also have a lot of ideas that I would like to put forward to expose to other people and see how people are reacting. in the end of the day, we have a lot of theories and we need to have opportunities to test them. So thank you for having me today.
Great, thank you so much. Thank you for being with us today. And I'm glad there's some takeaways for you. As we
Yes.
conclude our evening with our theme of finding peace, I want you to take away 3 things into your week and going forward, where you can fill up your cup every single day. And I'm sure that you all have your own ways of filling your cups. And I just wanted to share some little ideas that maybe you haven't heard of or thought of. No, thought of, not heard. Thought of. And you can just go and practice them and add your own. So it's about these 3 things to prioritize you. So prioritizing you, there are 3 things that you can work on. It's prioritizing your mind, your body, and your soul. And let's start with our mind. If you're wanting to prioritize your mind or think about your mind, you can come up with journaling. You could do some reading. You could learn something new, a new language that perhaps you want to work on. And with your body, you can improve your moving of your body each and every day. So moving your body in different ways, stretches, yoga, whatever comes for you. And lastly, your soul is maybe spending some time in nature. Luke shared his time at the beach. And another way is just being silent. So I encourage you to fill up your cup, because it's impossible to be pouring an empty cup onto others. So be mindful of filling your cup. Thank you all for a really special evening. Our next meeting is the 7th of November, and the theme is love. So I'm excited to see how that all comes together. And it's our in-person meeting. So Ahmad, if you are in Cape Town, would love to see you in person. We meet at the Cullinan Hotel, but we'll send you all the information. And I wish you all a wonderful rest of the week. And I'll see you on the 7th. Thank you so much.
Bye. Thank you.
Cheers, guys.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Cheers, guys. Thank you for the evening.
Yeah, thanks for a really awesome meeting. Everyone, Justine, Sean, everyone. Lawrence was super speeches, really